Hi, everybody. Last week, the Denver sports scene was saddened by the passing of one legend, but was also thrilled to see the election to the Hall of Fame of another legend. And I'll begin with the tough news as this guy, Larry Zimmer, who was the voice of the CU Buffs on the radio for decades, also worked with the Denver Broncos for many years, passed away at the age of 88. And Zimmer, by all accounts, not only a great broadcaster, the voice of many people's youths, and I spent a fair share of time listening to him on the radio as well, but by all accounts, one of the finest people there's ever been. A guy who, when Bob Martin passed away, Zimmer's broadcast partner with the Broncos in 1990, Zimmer, who was the color man, moved to the play-by-play spot and encouraged a guy by the name of Dave Logan to apply to be his analyst, and Logan became Zimmer's analyst. And then when Zimmer moved on from the Broncos following the 96-97 season, it was Logan who became the play-by-play guy, a job he still does today in addition to being a legendary high school football coach. But Logan became a media legend in no small part because of Zimmer, and Zimmer reaching out to Logan and helping him along. And then there was another big move Larry Zimmer made. He'd been the play-by-play guy for CU from the early 70s up through the 2003 season. Well, in 2004, this guy, Mark Johnson, was hired to join Zimmer in the broadcast booth for CU, but Johnson was asked to become the play-by-play guy, moving Zimmer to color. And I can't deny I personally would have had a very hard time with that move. Be a play-by-play guy for years, get moved to color, that would have been very difficult. But Zimmer was more than helpful with Johnson, mentored him, became a friend of his, and I think Zimmer's a big part of why most CU fans made the seamless transition to Mark Johnson as the play-by-play guy, because Johnson, though I think would have been very good on his own, took Zimmer's advice about when to get excited and how to do the job, took it to heart and made him and became that much better, I think, because of Zimmer's help. And of course, Mark Johnson to this day, still the voice of CU football, like Larry Zimmer was the play-by-play guy for CU football. Then Mark Johnson took over, and Johnson's still in that seat today, also the voice of CU men's basketball. Thanks to Larry Zimmer, who, and I guess right up till Zimmer's last days, he and Mark Johnson and Dave Logan remained good friends. And I did not meet Zimmer personally, but I did get to interview him once in a phone interview, and when I was at an internship at a radio station for a mentor of mine and good friend of mine, Bill Rogan, he set up an interview with Zimmer one Christmas Eve. And I got to be the co-host of his radio show that day, Bill's radio show, got to interview Mr. Zimmer, as Bill affectionately called him, and he answered all my questions, even called me by name, something like Happy Holidays, Devin. After I introduced myself over the phone, a fine guy, Larry Zimmer, gone at 88. One of the best, both on the radio and outside the radio, from what I understand. And that was sad news, certainly. I'll tie Mark Johnson into some happier news, that being when this guy, Todd Helton, and that's a Denver Post image, by the way, was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame last Tuesday. I tie Mark Johnson into that because Mark Johnson used to be a fill-in on the radio side for the Rockies, when one of the Rockies announcers, be it Jeff Cannery, who retired after the 09 season, or Jack Horgan or Jerry Schimmel, needed time off, Mark Johnson filled in while Todd Helton was playing. And Helton, who had over 2,500 hits, had a career batting average of .316, that's hard to do, 369 home runs, played all 17 seasons with the Rockies. but yet it took him 6 tries to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame, but it finally happened for him last week. As for why it took so long, I mean, I think for some, the fact that he played all of his home games a mile above sea level didn't help his cause, which is unfair to him, but that's a big part of it. And this is, by the way, one of the last starting lineups I ever bought of Todd Helton. Right before the starting lineup company went out of business in 2001. And I also wonder, I mean, I don't know this part for a fact, but I do know when some members of the media are evaluating baseball players today, they use sabermetrics and advanced stats. Bunch of nonsense I don't understand and I find very strange. I think it's just a way for media members to feel important. I can't deny I hate sabermetrics. One thing that stained my interest in baseball a little bit, to tell you the truth, along with many other things that I won't go into at this time, but certainly I am a little annoyed by sabermetrics. And if I were a Hall of Fame voter, I'd have looked at the fact, in addition to his other stats I just mentioned, I would have looked into the fact that Helton played his whole career with the Rockies, a team that only made the playoffs twice while he was with the team. In this image, one of those times, 2007, that's him fielding the last out, after fielding the last out of the National League Championship Series against Arizona, celebrating the Rockies' one and only trip to the World Series, that magical run 2007 when they won 14 of their last 15 regular season games, then their first 7 playoff games to make it 21-22 to get to the World Series before being swept by the Red Sox. A team Helton was almost traded to that season before management ixnayed it. Helton admitted he was glad he wasn't traded to the Red Sox, even though the Red Sox won the World Series over his Rockies. Just loved the fans, loved management, loved everything about the Rockies, and to spend his whole career with one team, as most of you know, that's very rare this day and age. And I think about a guy like Roger Clemens, who signed a lucrative deal with the Toronto Blue Jays before the 1997 season, and the future 300-game winner won the Cy Young in 97 and 98, and though the Blue Jays drastically improved in 98 from 97, they won 76 games in 97, 88 and 98, and appeared to be on the verge of being a really good team. That wasn't enough for Clemens. He demanded a trade after the 98 season and was sent to the New York Yankees and reaped the full benefits, winning the World Series with the Yankees the next 2 years, and was a 9th-inning rally from Arizona away from making it a third. Just shows how some can't handle being on a team that isn't great, even if they are on the verge of being good or great. But others, like Todd Helton, just were loyal beyond loyal, and if I were voting for the Hall of Fame, that would have added to his case for me, for sure. The fact that he stayed loyal to the Rockies despite just 2 playoff appearances in his 17 seasons. So last week we mourned the passing of Larry Zimmer, but felt good about the election of Todd Helton to the Baseball Hall of Fame. That's all for me for this video. I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Take care.